What's up, AfterBuzzers? Welcome to the Masters of Sex After Show. What happens in Topeka stays in Topeka. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
It's my drug.
Ryan, who sings this song?
It's K$Ha, the artist formerly known as
Also known as Kasha.
Super Cash. I love Kesha. I'm sorry.
We could tell.
Hashtag free Kesha.
What's going on, AfterBuzzers? Happy Halloween!
Yes.
Thanks for joining us tonight. We're discussing Season 4, Episode 8. This episode is called Topeka. I'm your lead host, Olivia Gabaree, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @thereal_O_G.
Awesome, and I am your favorite host. I'm going to say that because Dominic's gone today. I'm Ryan Graham, and you can follow me on Twitter at Ryan with 2 N's Graham, and on Instagram at Instagram.
Yes.
Nah.
Yes. Okay, so I figured we could break this episode up by relationships because it seems it was very like relationship driven. Are you feeling the same way?
I'm with you. You were the lead, so I will follow.
All right. So we first open up this episode with Virginia and Nancy. Well, everyone's about to leave for their trip, and we see Virginia and Nancy's conversation, and it almost seems like they were getting along. Virginia felt a little bit guilty about exposing Art's true feelings to Nancy.
You don't feel like there was an ulterior motive to that? I feel like she quote unquote
really
feels bad. I don't know. I feel like Virginia never feels bad about anything. I don't.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
It's like she let the cat out of the bag, and it's like, I'm sorry I did it, but it kind of had to be done.
Right. Yeah. I feel like because it still benefited her in some. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, I totally see it.
She revealed it, but like it still put Nancy at a lower level. So that because I think her goal for everything is get Bill back, and so yes, she feels bad about revealing that they were that Art felt bad about whatever about their relationship, but I don't think that she actually cared. I think she was just trying to like mend fences a little bit because she still needs to have Art and Nancy involved with the business because they have to run it while Bill and Virginia are on this trip. And
exactly.
You know what I mean? Someone has to stay home and run the fort, and so she needs to.
Oh, okay. So maybe the only reason why she was nice was because she needed everything to stay together.
Right.
But I don't know. They were, I guess, just being. I hate to say chicks, but they were just like, they were both hating on each other, but still maintained a professional relationship real quick. But Virginia actually lucked out the beginning of this episode because she got to go on vacation with her man.
I know. Yeah, we have to go make sure we check out all these other people trying to copy. No, we know what you're doing,
Yeah,
Virginia.
she was like, we need to make sure, like, they only take couples, so.
Yeah, okay, part of me feels like Virginia went out of her way to find the ones who only took couples.
Oh, probably.
Like, what? No, she knew what she was doing.
Yeah, exactly. But it was so funny how she didn't even think, like, Bill went along with it so quickly because now for once he has a motive too.
Yeah, his motive. He was trying to hide his thing too, which we can get to. But yeah, I don't want to say fed up, but it's just like, Virginia, how like desperate and thirsty
I know
are you right now? Like, I feel like she's going out of her way to do the same old tricks where I feel like she's constantly manipulating people, and it's like I don't even know if she knows she's manipulating them. It's like you are doing all these things to people to set up the dominoes the way you want them so they can fall into your perfect plan, and it's like, Virginia, this never works for you.
Exactly. But is that even the type of relationship that you would want to be in? The fact that you have to like trick a man into spending a weekend with you? That's not ideal for me.
No, I agree. It's not healthy. It's not fun. Like, he clearly does not care about. Like, not that he doesn't care, because I do believe that Bill cares about Virginia, but he's trying to.
He's been saying no like every time she's thrown herself at him, and it just so happens that this one time he was down for it. But we saw he was in the other room was he leaving a message on Nancy's phone, or she picked up? Because we couldn't hear her voice. I mean, Dodie rather. We couldn't hear her voice on the other end of the line.
I feel like he was leaving her a message to. Do they have? Wait, actually, time-wise, do they have voice? I don't think they have voicemail back then. So but I agree.
Right, I don't know either.
I don't think that they had voicemail.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So I think that she was on the phone, but like, there was clearly some like mystery with that because obviously Dodie's husband was like trying to shut it down.
Wait, no, I think they do have message because remember Virginia always used to drunk call
Oh, you're so right.
So they have to have.
You're so right.
They have to have answering machines. Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I guess maybe I just don't know my technology, obviously. But
No,
you're right,
I don't
because
would
she
have
did
thought
used to
the
leave drunk
same.
messages all the time. So clearly, I think my mic just.
I know
kicked
it
in.
just all picked
I
up
know.
a little bit.
Oh, I think I must have knocked this out. But okay, so it's back. Sorry for my mic being out. But yeah, I do think that he's clearly trying to leave her messages and get in touch with Dodie, because there's this love that they're trying to rekindle, and
Right.
like obviously a forbidden love, because Dodie's husband is like not having it.
And that's why I thought it was super weird that he was leaving a message. But of course, he put the plug in at the end of the message, being like, well, your husband can come too, which is kind of weird.
Which, and I guess that is what confused me the most, because I think at first I was like, oh, okay, you really are trying to romantically explore this.
Yeah.
But when he throws that in, it kind of goes, oh, maybe you're really just trying to gain closure, which I feel like Bill has quickly become one of the most mature characters, because he could have easily selfishly been trying to get back with Dodie and explore this love, but with that little like, oh, bring your husband because I want to make sure it's okay, I think he legitimately was like, no, I want closure, but like I understand that we can't be together. That's like throughout the episode, I feel like that is what he really wanted. I don't think he was trying to get back with her. I don't know. What do you think about?
Well, that's as soon as he mentioned that her husband could come along, I did think that it was kind of weird. But I see how Bill's character is maturing, so I kind of expected that out of him. But I mean, as we saw, once Dodie finally made it to his hotel, he had her in a position where he could have, you know.
Yeah, he could have.
He could have got down.
Yeah, literally, and she offered, like, she was throwing herself at him essentially, and he was like, "Oh no, that's not why I'm here."
And I didn't expect for him to turn it down.
No, until that moment, I was like, "Oh wow, Bill, like you really are just trying to gain closure." Because I was like, "Oh, this is clear." Like the way he was just being secretive about it, and he didn't let Virginia in on the fact that he was going to meet up with Dodie. Which, I mean, maybe he just. I mean, I can imagine as a guy, I can see a guy being like, "What? Why would I tell you this? We're not in a relationship."
Yeah.
And because of that, you can see what Virginia wanted versus what
I guess, but he he did lie though, because she asked if he wants some fried chicken, and he was like, I think I'm gonna call it an early night and just like go to bed.
But I mean, I guess he lied in the sense that I think him saying I think I'm gonna go to bed and call it early night, it was just him trying to get away from Virginia.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't think it was him trying to necessarily hide Dodie. I think it was just him trying to not set up anything that happened between him and Virginia, because remember, I think he looks at Virginia like a drug, like, because he started to, like, he really took that's why Your Love Is Our Drug. That's why I picked that song. I did. I was like, Your Love Is My Drug, and her love is his drug. Your love, your love, your love. Kesha, the songbird of our generation. But no, I honestly feel like Bill looks at Virginia as this thing that he wants or wanted, but he knows that it's not good for him. He knows where to lead him and where it puts him. He's trying to quit. Right, he's trying to quit it. And so I think by him telling Virginia, no, I'm going to call it early, it wasn't necessarily to hide Dodie, although that was a benefit of it. I think it was more to not be putting himself in a situation where it's like, that. Okay, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's late at night. They're in a hotel room. They're away from home. I could see how things could get a little mixed up.
Easily, yeah. And honestly, that was probably Virginia's plan. Like, it
100% was. Like, what do you mean?
That's what I'm saying. So
definitely was.
Like, that's what she was trying to do, and it's like, I don't think that Bill picked up on that. But like, you know what I mean?
No, I totally get you. And so let's pause on that one right there, because we could go deep into that, but I'm gonna save it for later. Save the good stuff for later.
Okay.
So as we saw that this was Virginia's motive, Nancy and Art saw that this was her motive as well. Right. So the second they get out of the office, Nancy's kicking her feet up, flicking through the
Rolodex.
Yeah, like, she's like, ain't a thing. Right. And they said like, oh, you know, this whole entire trip is just so Virginia could get
100% get back with Bill. 100% accurate. I thought that scene was interesting just because I feel like Art, especially after being given this new study, like the studying into the Kinsey scale and into same-sex relationships, I think that Art is now invested in the company in a way that Nancy is not. And so, and Nancy kind of having this like, whatever, we'll like take care of the company, but like, she kind of had this smugness about it. And I feel like Art was like, well, I don't know if you would be doing this. Like, I feel like Art legitimately has some type of concern for his research and what he's doing in furthering company, and I feel like Nancy's
I definitely see
She's
that.
over it.
Well, because she doesn't really have anything to lose.
No.
Virginia's not allowing her to grow within the company or excel, and Bill pretty much handed over this different end of the study and left it all up to Art. So now he actually is invested. He has his own role within the office, within the study. So if he was getting caught doing something behind everybody's back, then he would lose that opportunity.
Right. And so you see that he is trying to like focus energy and like, no, you know, we're here, we are gonna do this, we're sticking it out. And Nancy, especially when it's Cleavermores, is that the way you say it? So especially when they are continuing their research with the Cleavermores, you can see that Art is like, okay, no, let's do this. This is what we're supposed to be doing, and Nancy is looking for a way out.
Exactly.
And okay, with the Cleavermore case, did you call that? Because when I was watching the episode, I was like, they are not interested in a sex study.
Well, I kind of the questions that they were asking or the way they were going about it, I kind of figured. But as soon as they said that they wanted to finish the study like on their own terms, like in private, I was like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, they
don't care.
I thought they were scientists, and I was like, oh, okay, they're.
Oh, really?
I did. I was like, oh, they're scientists, and they're trying to steal the study.
I almost thought that a little bit, but then I was thinking like if they were well known to Bill and Nancy beforehand,
they wouldn't have let them in.
Yeah,
that's true. I guess I didn't look at it that way. But as soon as they started talking about, oh yeah, so how big's the square footage? I was like, oh, okay.
I know, that was super weird.
What?
It's like seriously.
Yeah.
But and he was so worried. He was like worried about the physical like business too, not even like what's up within it, you know.
I'm curious to see where this goes because I'm like I mean, well, we kind of have a prelude. I guess, am I going off of the map?
No.
No, okay, good. So, like, with Art and Nancy, like, then Nancy uses the information she has from Virginia to kind of turn it on Art and go, you know, I'm not okay with you sleeping with other women and blah, blah, blah.
I know.
And I'm like, what? And it just sucks because it's like, does anyone tell the truth in the show?
No one does.
Everyone lies.
At first, like, it was set up like they were about to have a genuine conversation.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, cool.
And then she starts to flip it on him and acts like it was her idea to be, like, monogamous. And it's like, come on.
And it was just so annoying because, like, honestly, you see Art and you see him kind of like perk up like, oh no, and then she's like, you know, but
so genuine.
I know now I don't think
maybe
he's a murderer.
Not a serial killer.
Maybe he's not a killer because like, this was the first time I was like, oh, maybe it is Nancy who's a crazy one. Like maybe Art is like the sweet one.
Well, maybe I guess Virginia's clearly rubbing off onto Nancy.
Yeah, it's like Nancy is learning something about this because she is told. I think I wrote that down. I was like, she is becoming Virginia. Like she's taking this case and she's like, because the Cleavermores are offering to move the case to New York or move the research to New York and like imagine it in a big city. And they're like, yeah, what about being in a city with only one good hotel? And I'm from Missouri, so like, I am. So like when they're like talking crap on St. Louis, I'm like, oh no, I'm like, I'm offended. Missouri is a fine place to be.
Yeah, but back in the day, maybe it wasn't as developed as it is now.
It was like 3 cows, so I get it. I mean, but whatever. Missouri is a lovely place. You should visit. But so you see the Cleavermores are clearly getting Nancy and they sold her and she's ready to get out. And Art still is hanging on, but she uses that conversation to trick him into wanting to leave.
And he doesn't even know, but it's just like, come on, you're like a psychologist. You gotta pick up on this
Terrible
stuff.
psychologist, apparently.
I know.
And then we also find out that Nancy is completely BSing. Like, because there was a moment where I was like, maybe she actually means this. Like, maybe because Art is feeling this way, she's gonna say, okay, I understand, and I will do this for you. But as soon as she gets home, there's I forget that guy's name.
Who was that guy?
He was at the swingers party. She was the one who she hooked up with at the swingers party. And as soon as she goes home, he's there waiting for her.
You know, for a second, I thought she was gonna sleep with Mr. Cleavermore.
I did too. When I saw the shadowy figure, because I couldn't tell who it was, I was like,
at first
damn.
I thought it was him.
I was like, that was so fast.
I know.
was like, wow. But then anyway, I was like, oh, okay, it's not. But I had the same thought. I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna sleep with him. Like, cool. I mean,
definitely thought so.
Okay, Virginia. Like you.
If that's what you gotta do, get yourself up to the top.
You really are Virginia.
She is. I don't know. She's taking on some characteristics, some conniving, sneaky characteristics. So as Nancy and Art are dealing with the Cleavermore case, simultaneously, Virginia and Bill, or Ingrid and Earl, are in a session with the 2 doctors, Harvey and Marcia. And they're pretty much saying the same thing.
Word for word.
Word for word.
Yeah.
So I guess it is true that they were kind of knocking off their study. But it's funny how Bill and Virginia, or Ingrid and Earl, handled the situation. Well, first of all, they took the Clavermore's all their information that they gathered on them and just acted as if it was their own.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that didn't bother me as much because it was like, okay, they had to have some type of a story.
It made the most sense.
Yeah, and it was like, and it's fresh on your mind, so like I get why they took their story. But it was just weird to see the cases like when they were, because we saw the Clevermore case right next to Earl and Ingrid, and it was like, wow, this is literally like copy and paste over to the study. So that was weird to see, like, okay, maybe Virginia isn't so crazy and like these people are legitimately stealing and she's still under the guise that we're making this case. But one thing that I thought was so interesting about her choice, so when Bill is talking about, oh yeah, I always like the name Earl, it's an honest guy, like you can trust Earl, and and then Virginia's like, oh, he goes, well, you're making me wear this mustache. She goes, well, don't you have a wig? And she goes, yeah, it's kind of blonde. And the thing is, I'm like, oh my God, you are trying to be Libby. That was
I didn't even think of that.
I was like, of course it's blonde. Of course you're gonna wear a blonde wig because you are like, she is so, I think, to the most minute level.
She's a little crazy.
She is. I'm like, she's pushing crazy because I think she got a blonde wig because she was like, oh, Libby's a blonde.
Oh my goodness.
I totally think that's what it is.
I could see.
Because she's nuts.
Well, but every other woman in his life is blonde.
Yep.
Dodie's blonde, Libby's blonde, Nancy's blonde.
And she didn't know about Dodie, but Nancy and Libby for sure, they're blonde, and it's like, I think that it was one of her taking a subtle thing, like,
that.
Okay, what can I possibly do to make Bill want me? This is something small I can do. Like, I 100% think that's what it was.
Yeah.
She's kind of crazy.
I didn't even think that, but I 100% back you on that. I could see her doing something crazy like that. When they were explaining their like problems to the doctors, there was a lot of like awkward silences and pauses, and I couldn't really tell if they were like thinking something, or because certain parts of the conversation like triggered something, especially when they asked like he was married before. And did you feel like part of the conversation was like false in the Clavermores, but part of it was like true Nancy and Bill?
I agree. I feel like that session, for Bill at least, I feel like Virginia is so caught up. I think she was preoccupied with her ulterior motive, but I think for Bill, I think it was silent. He had those silent pauses because it was hard for him to distinguish if, okay, is this acting or are me and Virginia actually in a session together? Because it started to come to realization like, oh, okay, like the way this is going, maybe we really are in a session right now. Because I think Virginia, in her mind, she's thinking about Bill, so her answers probably fit more to the truth about her and Bill. So then Bill was probably like, I don't know how to answer these questions because the vibes you're giving me are like, we are legitimately going through this together. So
and
it was weird.
He actually made like, I felt like he came to a realization because they used the Clavermore case of how like the son walked in on them having, which I didn't realize that until that moment. Did you?
No.
Did you know that was
that's why I was confused by that. Was that a part of the Clavermore story, or was that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, that's what I was confused with.
Because they were telling, it was kind of confusing because they kept going back and forth between the two, but I believe that that's what happened. So the young boy walked in on them, having sex, whatever, but then Harvey, which was the doctor,
the one copying the study,
yes, he suggested that it was almost a feeling of unworthiness, like you're not worthy of, like, because that happened, you're like no longer, you don't feel worthy of feeling
satisfaction,
pleasure. Exactly.
And I feel like that hit home to Bill on like a subconscious level because of his childhood. So like it was like, oh, and then his kind of neglect towards his own kids. So like I feel like on multiple levels it hit Bill, and that's why he had such a like I don't know how to respond to this, because it felt so real to him. Well,
it definitely felt real, because then once Dodie showed up at his door and we find out that, well, it was full disclosure between the two of them, she never got the roses and never got the note, and like they went through their whole entire life just thinking they didn't love each other.
They thought, each of them thought the other person was the like, oh, they ended this, and like what a sad way
that's so weird. That makes me mad. It's like, how could you not say anything like, I proposed to you,
and like, I don't think I would just be like, oh, well, I guess they don't want me. Like,
no, that's super weird.
Out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I proposed. Well, and maybe maybe I missed it, but I was like, where did it go? Do we ever figure out how it just...
Maybe the nurse just took him home. She's like, oh, I got some roses.
Weird. That's weird. I think that's weird for a nurse to just be like, oh, well, I'm sorry, this is mine. Like, what? No.
It is weird. I wonder if that's what happened in real life. I'm not sure if they're real stories, but I wonder.
I guess we should look next week. Next week we will look into that.
Yeah, I want to look it up.
But I guess that is another mystery to me, and I wonder if we're going to find out what actually happened to the note and the letters, because it's like, that's weird for those to just disappear.
It is super weird, but then after they got past the fact that he wasn't really down for what she was down for, they had this big conversation, and she was asking about Libby, and he was like, no, well, there's this other woman, and talking about Virginia.
Right.
And he started to speak about how he felt like unworthy of somebody else's love, and Dodie was like, is that because of me? Like, because of what happened, because you thought I denied you, whatever. And...
Also, can we pause for a minute?
Yeah.
How does someone spell Dodie? Like, every time I'm like, I don't know.
D-O-D-Y.
Is that,
Dot. Oh, I guess I could be Dottie.
Dottie. I go D-O-D-D-I-E.
Okay.
But I don't know. Is that, but then I thought 2 O's, but then that's Duty.
Duty. Stop, not Duty.
I'm just like, what Dodie? What kind of a name?
Dodie.
Duty.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to Google it.
Yeah, I'm like, what is Dodie? What a weird name.
I actually wrote down this quote, though, that could be helpful for what I'm trying to explain to you.
Okay.
So he says, I need to stop falling in love with women who aren't in love with me. And then he thought, like, because Dodie
didn't love him,
he was like, well, how could she ever possibly love me? And she says, maybe the next woman who wants to love you, you'll be brave enough to let her.
And I think she was talking about herself, because I think that they were still kind of sort of dancing around the fact that, like, because they both thought the other person didn't love them,
right?
So they were still dancing around, like, and trying to, like, see, okay, is this about me? And so I think that
she wanted it to be about her.
I know, and I felt so bad, because I think he's over it now. Like, I think him talking to her was the closure he needed, but I think she still wants him.
For sure.
Yeah, obviously she still wants him, and so that was, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about their relationship, because I feel like while Bill is growing, and like, I feel like he needs to just get all of his stuff figured completely out. Like, I think that there's obviously still some, like, residual relationship stuff with Virginia that he needs to, like, completely
it's just like, you know, like, fix it up and move forward.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what he's done with Dodie now. And so I feel like the last person that he needs to do that with is Virginia. And,
exactly.
And, well, we don't, God knows where that'll go. But the other thing with Dodie is that she makes up this story. I was like, she's lying when she comes in and she goes,
yeah, there's no way that would ever happen.
My husband said he didn't want to come, but we can just stay here. She goes, I booked an Italian restaurant, or we can stay here. I'm like, what?
I was like, nah, she wants it.
I'm like, yeah, you're lying. Your husband didn't just go, okay, honey.
What husband would ever do that?
No.
Like, oh, he invited me, so you guys can just go to dinner without me.
He invited me? Good, never mind. You're good to go.
It's all
that
good.
That makes no sense.
I know, but whatever. Bill fell for it, of course.
Of course.
And so when they're having, like, this great deep conversation, Virginia comes across. Do you know Dodie's husband's name?
No, I just wrote Dodie's husband, because I'm sure they've said it, but I didn't
pick up on it either.
But yeah, her husband, and she walks by him, and she's like just sitting out there. He was fixing something. Well, I don't know what he was.
I think it was like a newspaper thing or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. He was just chilling, creeping outside the motel, and he and Virginia, like, somehow spark a conversation and go pretty deep for, like, just meeting each other.
Because I think Virginia picked up real quick what was happening.
Exactly.
And Virginia's such she's such a hater. Because so they start talking, and then she realizes that Bill is in there with this other woman, and Virginia's like, well, you should go in there and kick in the door, and I'm like, you are such a hater.
Just provoking the absolute worst, because that's what she wants to do, but someone else has to do her dirty work, because that's true Virginia fashion.
Right, because she at the end of the day, she still wants Bill, and she knows if she acts crazy, that is going to push Bill away.
Let somebody else do the crazy.
That's exactly what and I'm like, I think I literally wrote, Virginia is such a hater. Like, I did. She's so selfish. Like, why can't he have love? Why does he have to be with you? Like, if you love him so much, Virginia, let him have love, let him be happy. And she just she wanted to ruin it, and it just made me sad.
Well, because she wants it for herself, you know. So if Bill can't move forward without her, like that's just not happening.
God.
And the way, like, she just stormed into his room the next morning with, like, she had an agenda right away.
Yeah.
But she revealed her crazy too fast.
Oh, yeah, she did. I was like,
it just unleashed. Like, he was just trying to talk about the study, like, nonchalantly, and she's like,
and she goes, no, well, we should.
What was she looking for? She was, like, looking around, like, wrinkles on the bed.
Yeah, probably, like I smell her in
yeah,
here.
like, I have a blonde hair.
This isn't mine. That's exactly what. This hair in the sink, it didn't come from me.
Yeah, but
so.
it's
like, get out.
Yeah, it's not your man. Like, what are you gonna say?
Virginia is such a possessive girlfriend who's not a girlfriend, and it's like, look, you're not a girlfriend. You need to calm all of it down. Like,
and
Virginia.
I think, but Bill doesn't even react to it anymore. She's like, was somebody in here? You weren't alone, and she was just interrogating him, and he was just like, no, I wasn't alone.
Yeah, he's like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't tell you that I was. Like, that's the thing is, like, I think in her mind, she feels this like ownership over him, and like, well, why didn't you tell me? He's like, why would I? Like, who do you think you are, Virginia?
I know.
Why would I?
But
tell
she
you
kind of caught herself mid crazy a little bit. She like paused and she was like, damn. And she was like,
oh yeah, I have to calm. I forgot. Let me pack.
Yeah,
all
like,
this
this is not my man. Let me just chill out.
Let me put this back
rewind
in the box.
it. And
have you ever gone crazy? I have. I've been not crazy, but I've gone off on someone before, and I was like, oh,
that's just part of being human. Sometimes
like,
you just can't help yourself, and you're just like.
And then you're like, I'm sorry for the things that I text you.
Yeah, but it's like, am I really sorry?
It's like, no.
I've been thinking about it this whole. It's just like there's a difference between thinking about it and actually. Yeah.
It's true. This time I just happened to do it. So, okay.
Just once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
It's just.
The moon
makes for good character.
Yeah, the moon was full. You know, I had to let it out. The crazy really just came out tonight. I'm sorry.
It just builds up sometimes. You just gotta let it loose.
Let it out.
I totally agree with you. I really do.
But Virginia lets it out too much.
She needs to like pack it up a little. Well, she realizes that she's being a little bit crazy, and then she kind of switches perspectives, and she's like, well, is this how I made you, like, this awful feeling of I can't even sleep, I can't eat, I'm like listening in the walls to hear if I can like hear anything, what you're doing.
Yeah.
And she's like, have I ever made you feel this way? And Bill was like, once. Twice, 1,000 times.
Oh
I'm like,
God.
You're so dramatic.
They are. That's what I'm like. Their relationship is just too much for me, because I'm like, and that's what I mean. Like, literally, it's a drug, and that's what he's saying. Once, twice, 1,000, and that's like literally that is what addicts say. Like, it is. You made me feel crazy. Like, and that's like. That's 100% what it is. She is a drug, and he knows it, and that's why he's trying to be done with her. And
she just will not let it happen.
Like a good drug,
persistent.
Like any other
Comes
drug,
and
it's
knocking.
like, hey, thought you were over me? Not today.
That's how it always happens.
It 100%
always
is. Like,
happens.
just when you think, I'm good, the drug comes back.
Back around again. But you got to be strong enough to say no more. And he was saying no more, but she's still being persistent.
I guess, are we gonna? I'm trying to think where we're. Can we just like? I'll just say it.
Just do what you want to do.
I know, I should just do it. So it just sucks because Virginia had I mean, I'll give it. The plan was great because they were going to the study, and then Marcia and Harvey, they're like, oh, well, the next part of the study, they take Bill and Virginia's plan and like expedite it, and it's like, okay, 2 days in, let's start watching you guys bone. But I mean, I know that's a crass way to put it, but
pretty much,
yeah, but that's kind of what they do. And so Virginia and Bill are back, and they're like, okay, now we think it's time to do the trials together. And Bill is like, no, this is not a good idea. Like an alcoholic, like, no, I don't need to go to that club.
You don't put yourself in like a vulnerable situation.
Because why would you do it? And Virginia's like, can we have a moment? And because she's so conniving and so manipulative, because she knew, and she tries to put the spin on it where it's like, no, it's for the study. We have to build a case, and it's like, no, you have word for word what they're doing. You don't need a case. You already have your case.
You have the case.
You know what you're doing, and that's the thing that bothers me about her, is because it's like, you know that you're, and it's like, what do you want?
She always has to take it to the next level, and she knows she's taking it to the next level.
I don't know. I feel like I'm like just going off.
No, I
on it,
100% agree with you. And but the thing is, like, Bill falls for it almost like he was going so strong, and so many times I thought he was gonna tip and finally just give in, but he wasn't. And now this is like the ultimate. If you weren't gonna give in to anything, like, this is what you shouldn't have given in
this
to.
would be the point where you're like, no, we're leaving.
Yeah.
And Virginia works her magic and then gets them in the room together. And like that's what I'm saying. That's again like it is like being an alcoholic and like your friends are constantly like, no, let's go to the club, let's go to the club, let's go to the bar. You don't have to drink. It's fine. Just come. Yeah. And you're like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to this party. I don't want to do that. And then finally, someone just breaks you down to where you're like, okay, I will go to this bar with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about what you choose to surround yourself with. And if you're putting yourself in that position, then you're screwing yourself.
But I mean, like, and I get it. And I'm like, and I don't want to be harsh on Bill because I'm like, he's an addict. And he realizes that. And he wants to get better. And the thing about this is at least alcohol is like an inanimate object. So, like, if a person falls with alcohol, while it's still not their fault because I get being an addict, it's hard.
Yeah.
But, like, at least that thing's not, like, talking to you. But, like, and it sucks because Virginia is literally his drug and he knows it's bad. And she's like, I don't know, she's just a terrible person. She is.
That's all I could say.
She is a terrible person.
Here's my train of thought. So now they gather all this evidence against these two doctors posing to be these other people, but when they like reveal all this evidence that they gathered, like, what is it gonna say when it's revealed that Masters, like, that they
had sex together?
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, I don't know. You're right. I don't know if it'll come off as a bad thing. I think they can say that Virginia is covering her own ass in this aspect where she can be like, we did it as a part of our study. We needed to make sure.
I guess.
So that's how I think they're going to write it off. But you're right. I agree because that might come back to bite him in the butt.
Yeah, because I'm almost thinking like if like all their evidence that they gathered is invalid because they work so hard to make their public image like very separate and like professional from each other, and now that these two doctors literally like probably have them on tape, you know what I'm saying, and they could really expose them as two doctors like that's not professional
that
anymore.
Is not. And then maybe like, and then those other two doctors can spin it as, well, maybe they were going in disguise because they really had a relationship problem and they needed our help. And so, because you can look at it that way too, like because it's kind of true. It kind of did help them. I mean, unfortunately so. Yeah. Because they ended up being together and had that moment of passion, which it annoyed me for Virginia to be like, I love you.
He didn't say it back though.
I mean, but they like, yes.
Yeah, he kissed her, but like he didn't say it back.
But I think that was enough. I think it was like, I don't know.
That was like her cherry on top. Like she was like, "Ooh, I sealed the deal."
And that's the thing is that I'm like, I wish Bill could see through that because it's like, for what reason would she have to say I love you? Like that isn't a part of the study. Like that is her.
That's her
trying to dig her claws back into him.
Well, because that's like the most vulnerable
spot.
Yeah, that you could possibly be in.
I get so annoyed with Virginia because that's what she wanted.
But she knows, like she knows her.
What she's doing.
Yeah, she knows it all. And
she even tried to say to him, "It's just sex." Well, if it's just sex, why are you saying I love you? No,
because obviously it ain't.
It's not. Oh, I'm sorry. Virginia really annoyed me this episode. I was so.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't wait to see how their relationship, like what is next for them, how they're gonna like, because there have been many times this season where it kind of seemed like they were getting back together and then they didn't.
I think this is the moment that
they're together again.
I think they're back, which I don't want them to be, but I do. I think this is it. This is, I mean, not it, but this is them being back. Like they're at least on that path for sure I guess, which is sad, but
whatever. While those two are moving backward, Libby's moving forward with her new man, Keller.
Libby and Keller are my favorite. I love them.
Oh, they're dope.
They are. He brings out such a light in her. Like she is in this new, like, I am Libby, hear me roar, I can do anything. I love it because she is becoming this very strong, independent person, and it's like she's like, "What? I don't."
But he's like he's bringing that out in her. Whereas Bill kind of like belittled her, and she was always below him. Now Keller, like she's almost becoming Keller's equal. He's like encouraging her to be like a professional person, to be an independent person.
Like, you're smarter than a housewife. Not that there's anything wrong with being a housewife.
No.
But like he's saying you're
more than that.
Yeah, you can do more. If you want to do more, do more. Like you can. You are capable. You're smart. You're beautiful. And like her like standing up to the diner and being like,
that was so cute.
I was like, oh, like I hate that the diner shut her down, and like I loved the parallel of that to kind of like. Libby has become the new Virginia in the sense that she went to the diner guy and was like, well, this we're gonna take it kind of, we're gonna take it to court struggle. And he was like, leave it to the people with degrees. And it's like the same thing as Virginia when she was first starting out, and everyone was like, you're not a doctor, what do you mean? And it's like, so it's Libby's turn now to go through that, and they're like, you're not a lawyer, you don't have a degree. And now she's like, well,
but it's kind of funny because Virginia was like looking to Bill for like that knowledge and that education and that extra push, whereas now Libby's looking to Keller
and Keller's there for it.
Yeah.
I love them together. I
do too.
Much.
And he kind of, you could like, he thought it was kind of cute that she was trying to push the whole dentist thing, even though it wasn't really
a big deal.
Yeah, in his eyes it really wasn't like a valid argument, but she went behind his back to his ex-wife to like negotiate this divorce.
I know.
It seems like a sticky situation. I genuinely thought he was going to be upset by it.
I actually did. He did kind of like move, and I think that she has an experience that he doesn't have. Well, no, that's not true because he's been divorced 3 times. But I mean, like, I think that her and Bill's divorce ended on like a happier note considering how divorces go. And so I think she had that insight to kind of be like, you were just trying to hurt her, and like, no, you don't need to do that.
Which was
what
true.
He was doing,
and he left it up to himself as the lawyer of his own divorce, and you could see where like it's like a conflict of interest pretty much. 100%. And so there's no way you could put all emotions and stuff like that aside to fight this case fairly. So Libby takes it into her own hands, and I kind of admire how she did it because she's a woman and because she was in a situation similar. She knew how to work it, and she even said she set it up like, oh, he could never get rid of his Cadillac, and so automatically that's the first thing the wife wants is the Cadillac, and she's like, okay, perfect, like I'll get it for you, and he was grateful for that, but it like meant a lot for Libby, I think, because she has that validation and like that push from Keller, that it's encouraging her to become her own professional, and now she's looking to pursue
a law career. Yeah. I think the cool thing about that is that I remember her like in episodes we've seen recently, she's been, I wasted my best years, and like I think that her and Keller like gives her that like you haven't wasted anything. Your best years are not behind you, like you can still do stuff, and it's like use the time you still have to do great things. And so now that she is looking into law school, it's like Libby has gone from being this, oh, I'm seeking other people's approval, to I am validating myself. I don't need other people to approve me. I approve of me, and I'm going to do things that I want to do. And I love that she is going through that transformation. Just
becoming an independent woman.
I love her.
I love it too.
And I love Bram too. Keller Bram.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he seems like he's
on her side,
guy.
And he's genuine, and he told her the truth about
everything.
The whole divorce situation.
Like, this is what's happening.
He easily could have lied.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's refreshing to see him not be a liar. Like, I think that's the other thing that attracts Libby to him, is because he's not a liar.
He doesn't lie to her.
He's like, yeah, this
for
is
a change,
right?
So I'm gonna wrap it up. I mean, that's like such a positive, but unfortunately, we see Lester's kind of going through it right now.
I know.
Lester and Austin, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I just forgot that Austin was like a part of the study.
Well, yeah. So season 1, he was in the study, and Jane was his partner, and but this was the thing, is that it was before Jane and Lester were a thing. So like Lester was just kind of like around, but he wasn't. He was just Lester. You know what I mean? He was just filming, and so Jane and Austin had this kind of like fling. Austin got feelings until, he has his weird fetish things.
Yeah,
it ended up being a fetish. So like, but at any rate, so like Austin comes back and he's trying to sell these penis pumps, and it's like in true Austin
But he was trying to make a living for his new baby.
And the thing is that I appreciate Austin because he is who he is. He's just like, you know what?
But he's trying to find a way.
He is. He always tries to find a way. Even through his obscurities, he's always trying to find a way and trying to be like, I'm me, and I know that I have flaws, but I'm trying. And Lester is clearly holding on to a lot of resentment towards Jane, and he is putting it onto so many things. And so him and Austin get into a confrontation. He ends up punching Austin, which is like, oh, poor Lester.
He did it. I know. Lester's just going through it, and you're right. He is taking it out on everybody else. And he had like very negative things to say about the study.
Yeah. And because Guy is thinking about signing up to be one of the participants in the same-sex study that Art's taking control of, and Lester's not. He's like not being supportive. He's just like, no, you shouldn't do it. It changes people. And like, I see what Lester's saying, because I mean, if you think about it, it did change Bill in Virginia. It did change Austin. It kind of like led into his, like, although he was always like someone who had infidelity, it kind of led him into like his fetish world and like him exploring other parts of his sexuality. And then it did kind of turn Jane into this kind of, I don't want to say sexual deviant, but I guess for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Also, where is Jane? I feel like we talk about Jane all the time, but I'm like, where
we always
is
do.
she?
Well, she like ran off with some dude.
Right. But they stayed married? Like,
I don't know.
I guess, didn't she run off when they went to LA, and then they came back, and then like they weren't married, and then they got married? It was very
their
weird.
situation is so like bizarre. It's almost very unclear, but Lester sets it up as if Jane is like a victim of the study.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it's because he still has hope that it's not Jane, and that Jane is interested in him, and that it's not something he's doing wrong. Like, I think he is having trouble with owning the fact that their relationship is over,
and he wants to blame like outside things.
It's always something else. It's not her, because she loves me, and I don't think that, I mean, we don't know what Jane loves because Jane is not around. But I mean, like, I think that it's hard for him to like to accept the fact that Jane doesn't love him, at least not in that way, and that she is not moving on. She's being selfish in the fact that she's staying with him, but having sex with other people. But I think it's hard for him to accept that, and so he has to find something. And for this, it has to be the study.
Yeah, and he's just bringing, like, misery needs company. He's just trying to bring everybody down with him. That's why
I want Foxy Brown to come back. I'm just saying, like...
Wait, can I tell you? I was... Foxy Brown's like an artist, like a real... I don't know if it's physically
in
her.
real life?
But I was scrolling through my Spotify, some song by a Foxy Brown came on, and I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to tell Ryan. But I forget what it was.
I have to look this up.
Yeah, we're going to have to look this up.
And this will be the song
next week. Wonder, maybe it's like really her. Like maybe they just like plugged her into the show or something.
I really, really, really want them to get back together, because I feel like Lester is going through so much right now, and he needs a little bit of happiness.
I know. I wonder what's in store for his character. Like, I feel like he may like bring on this dark...
I don't know, because I just feel like his character is in a rut right now, and it's like I feel like we didn't just get introduced to Foxy for no reason. I do think that there's some things coming.
We're gonna hold on to that.
I'm gonna hold on to Foxy. I really need her to come back.
Okay. Do you want to move into predictions? Do you have any predictions?
Let's do
predictions. AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I can't.
This one's a little. That one was a little different. Do we always have a voice?
Yeah, there's always a voice, but I feel like it's usually a little bit. Like. More.
You didn't get us with the lights.
We don't have lights. Okay.
We use that one when we're running short on time.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, we'll wrap up.
We're like
wrap up. I know.
Smack.
Sorry, we are. I'm sorry. Predictions. I feel like. Now I'm like.
You're flustered.
I'm flustered. Predictions wise, I feel like now that Virginia. Oh no. Sorry. I think that Art is going to catch Nancy in this cheating scam. Yeah. And I think that Nancy's going to leave, but I think Art is going to stay with the study. Because I think Art is really invested. And I think she's going to try to run off and copy them. But I don't think that Art's going to leave. I think they're going to actually break up.
I think Bill and Virginia will probably catch, or I think Virginia will catch Nancy 100%. Trying to like finesse this situation.
Makes sense. No, yeah.
Because she's so on her ass about everything, and she's so, like, this is a big deal to her about people stealing her work, so I feel like she could catch on to her at some point. Although, I mean, she's very distracted with this Bill situation now as well, so she may not even realize it. It'll just come out right from underneath her.
Yeah. I could see that Virginia getting caught up with Bill and not noticing it, but I do think that Art's going to be the one to stay. I feel like... Nancy's gonna really try to push it.
Maybe Art will out her.
I hope so.
That would be awesome.
Now I'm rooting for Art, because I'm like, now I don't like Nancy.
Yeah, now I don't like Nancy at all. How about as far as Dodie and Bill? You think they're on pause for a while?
I feel like I get the vibe that Dodie's husband is abusive. The fact that he followed her, and just the fact that he went to Bill, and I get a very aggressive vibe from him. So I think that Virginia pumped him up, And so when she went home, I think he beat her, and then I think that's gonna come out, and then Bill's gonna be pissed at Virginia. He's gonna find out because I think Doty's gonna call and be like,
he's gonna have to like save Doty,
right? But I totally get the abusive vibe from her husband. I think
100%. And it's clear that he follows her more often than not because he was like, she doesn't get the whole rearview mirror like type thing. And
I know, poor thing. I know that's kind of stalkery, kind of scary.
A little stalkery. I don't know. Any other last minute points you want to bring up before we wrap up this Halloween episode?
I think that's it because it is All Hallows Eve. The veil is very thin tonight, so be careful because you know what kind of ghosts and ghoulies are. Ghoulies will run around tonight, so you be careful. Don't trust no one.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter and comment on our YouTube page. We love the comments and we love all your predictions, so keep that up. Once again, I'm your host, Olivia Gabaree. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @thereal_O_G.
Awesome. And I'm your favorite host, Ryann Graham. You can follow me on Twitter at Ryann with 2 N's Graham and on Instagram at Instagram.
Yes. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
See ya. Bye. Happy.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.